Street Fighter 2 Dash, or Street Fighter 2 Champion Edition, really doesn't need any introduction whatsoever. You guys know this game. Now, one thing I want to mention right off the bat was this is a PC Engine game that was actually released on HuCard way back on June 12th, 1993, exclusively for the PC Engine over in Japan. Obviously not exclusive as in only on that platform, but it was a Japanese exclusive. Now something that's interesting is that this HuCard actually weighs in at 20 MIBs, even though the limit was supposed to be 8 MIBs. Now don't get confused. This, I forget how you actually pronounce it, but it's not megabytes, this one. It's actually a larger file format. So that's interesting that Capcom was able to cram so much into the tiny little HuCard. Something else that's really interesting is why the hell this was never released in North America. The PC Engine equivalent in North America was the TurboGrafx 16, and I continue to say, had the platform been supported by all the wicked spaceship shooters and games like this, it really could have had a different life cycle than the one it did have, but that's a story I think for another day. So what separates Street Fighter 2 Dash from the World Warrior and the Championship Edition that was released on, well, one was released on the SNES and one was released on the Mega Drive or the Genesis? Well, for the most part, it's minor things. This version is missing a couple of the finer details with the background. Some of the colors are a little bit different. But for the most part, this is an extremely faithful version of the arcade game. It's a real gem, this, and if you were a fan of Street Fighter 2, either on the Super NES or the Mega Drive / Genesis, I really highly recommend you give this one a whirl if you can, just to see how it plays, because it is a little bit different. I find the animation is right up there with the SNES version, yet it has a lot of the speed and gameplay tightness that was found in the Genesis version. For the longest time, believe it or not, this was actually my favorite version of Street Fighter 2 until Super Street Fighter 2 hit the SNES. Now, of course, hardcore fans will say, no, the SNES version was better, no, the Mega Drive version was better, but that's all open for debate. But for me, I really did enjoy this version. I love the fact that the boss characters were playable. I love the fact that the colors were rich and bright. And I really enjoyed the brand new 6-button controller that was released in Japan for the PC Engine. And it is a must if you're going to play this game because, well, just like the original 3-button controller for the Genesis, if you want to play it with the standard joypad, well, yeah, you gotta do some really funky stuff like tap the button for one type of punch, press and hold it for another type of punch. It's just completely outrageous. So go and pick up a 6-button controller for your PC Engine if you do plan on playing this game. Now, that's pretty much all I wanted to say about this version of the game. There's like nothing else I can say because it's such a classic game. So just sit back, enjoy a little bit more of the footage, and just think, yes, the TurboGrafx 16 had a version of Street Fighter. Sadly, it never made its way outside of Japan, and that is a real shame because it's a fantastic version of the arcade classic.